Hey beef lovers, I have another steak video for you today. This is a shoulder steak. It's 6/10 of a pound, roughly 10 ounces. This is enough for 2 people. We're going to pull it out of the package, and as you can see, it comes pretty well trimmed. This cut of meat is from the chuck area of the cow or the steer. Now, this is a fairly hard working muscle. So we're going to prep it in the usual fashion. We're going to pat it dry. Keep the cutting board clean. We're going to apply salt and pepper. Remember, we're going to salt and pepper copiously, and we're going to salt and pepper both sides. I'm not doing any dry brining or letting it sit overnight. This is a weeknight meal. Next, we got a hot pan, small little Lodge pan. This is my 5-inch pan. This is my high-speed induction cooktop. As you can see, we've done some other cooking on these videos today, so I'm still using the same beef suet that I was using for the other videos. Make sure the pan is well lubricated. There's enough oil in the pan, and place the meat in the pan. We're cooking it over a high temperature, as always. I'm going to give it about 4 minutes per side. You can see that this is browned up very nicely. If you can make good contact with the pan for the entire cook, then the meat takes on a really nice dark brown color and gives you a very good looking crust. I'm going to add a little bit of butter at the end just for some additional flavor. I'm going to baste it a little bit. Just get it covered in the fat and the oil and the butter from the dish, and this just makes it taste a little bit more rich. Once it's reached a level of doneness that I'm happy with, this is about a medium rare cook today. I'm going to remove it from the pan, and we're going to put it on a plate to let it rest. I recommend you rest these cuts for probably 10 to 15 minutes. And now we're going to make a quick fresh salsa. We filmed this video in the summer. So we have 2 fresh tomatoes from the garden. We're just going to core them. They've been washed and dried, and they're ready to go. So we'll core the tomatoes. And then we're just going to slice them and then turn them 90 degrees and cut them into a dice. So first I'm just going to cut them in half. This is just a basic technique for chopping up a tomato. And when you're making a salsa, it's important to try and keep things as uniform as possible. Try not to have large pieces of one vegetable and small pieces of another. You don't have to make everything tiny. You can cut them to the size that you like. So we'll turn them 90 degrees. And since this is a lot of pulp, these are very ripe tomatoes, it will fall apart pretty quickly. But you can see I'm cutting these into about 1/8-inch dice. We'll just go ahead and complete chopping all of these tomatoes, and then we'll put them in a bowl. And then we'll get the next vegetable, which happens to be purple onion. This is just a quick and easy way to do a dice. I've got a few slices. I cut them in one direction, turn them 90 degrees, and cut them the other direction. And that basically cuts the rings into dice. They're a little bit smaller than the tomato, but not much. Next, I'm going to use some lime juice. This is a kind of a take on a pico de gallo salsa, and so I like the taste of fresh lime. I would have put more lime in this salsa. I just didn't have any more limes in the kitchen, so as you'll see, we're going to put a little bit of vinegar in later. Next, I'm going to put a little bit of garlic. I don't like my salsa overly garlicky, but you can put in as much garlic as you like. Cut it off stem and stern. Give it a little smash, and that'll loosen the paper. And then you can either just chop it, or you can dice it, or you can slice it. I'm going to go ahead and use my beloved Xylus garlic press. This is my old garlic press. It's been in my kitchen for probably 40 years now. I'm going to take about 3 serrano peppers. I like my salsa a little bit spicy, so I'm not going to bother de-seeding them or deveining them. I'm just going to cut them in quarters lengthwise and then turn them and chop them. And as you can see, the vegetables are fairly uniform in size. We'll just chop these up, and then we'll put them in the bowl with the rest of the vegetables. This is just a bright garden salsa. Most of the vegetables come from my garden. This is a little bit of cilantro. And then we're going to put in some oregano. I didn't have any Mexican oregano, so I was just using regular oregano. It's about 1.5 teaspoons. Next comes a few turns of pepper. This is a Turkish pepper mill, Turkish coffee mill, and it grinds pepper very well. I'm going to put in about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. This is the same kosher salt I cook with. And then I'm going to put in 4 or 5 teaspoons of olive oil. Happens to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 6. 6 teaspoons. I didn't have enough limes, as I said, so I'm using a little bit of white wine vinegar for a bit of additional acid. And then you just stir it all up. It's basically the salsa. Put it into a bowl for presentation and for storage, because I'm going to use this in a couple of other recipes. The rest of it I'm going to eat with chips. Okay, now the meat is rested. We're going to take it out. We're going to pour the juices over the top, because there's still a lot of flavor in those juices. I'm not really taking the pan butter or anything like that. I think there's enough fat on the meat. And then we're just going to slice it. And as you can see, it's rested pretty well. It's come out a nice medium rare. And we're slicing it against the grain. The shoulder is a fairly hard-working muscle, and so you need to give the beef a chance. It's not going to cut like a tenderloin, but it's going to have a great deal of flavor. The nice thing about working muscles is they taste good, and in this particular beef, which is American Wagyu, they're also pretty tender. They're not terribly fatty because of the way I raise them, but they're tender. You just spoon the salsa over the top, and now we're going to give it a taste test. This is a really nice cut of meat. It's very rich, beefy flavor. It's easy to cook. The entire video took me about 18 minutes from start to finish, and then we edited it down. But that's it. That's what it looks like, and it was a delicious dinner.